votes are every bit as important as ours. So we're going to get started. It is the September 18th meeting of the Burlingame City Council. And I call the meeting to order. And as always, we start with our Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to ask our two voter supporters, Lila and Neely, Sheely, sorry, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. There's no request for remote participation, so we can skip that, right, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, we can.
We did not have a closed session, so there is no report out. That takes us to upcoming events. I am, as always, obliged to our Director of Parks and Rec, as well as our amazing librarian, for letting us know some of the events that are coming up in the community. So this coming Friday, September 22nd at 7:30 p.m. is the last movie in the park, and it is the movie It Takes Two. So come on along and enjoy a film. On September 30th from 11 to 2 is an open house at our community center, and you can learn about community events, check out class demos, and really get a feeling for what the community center is all about. It's really become a hub for our community. It's a wonderful place. In October, the Park and Rec Department is hosting a Halloween house decorating contest. And if you're interested, you should sign up now and start thinking about your creativity to celebrate Halloween. So that's a lot of fun. You can find that on the Park and Rec website. Over on the library side, there is Rethink Waste Game, Puzzle, and Book Swap, which is this Saturday from 11 to 1 in the front porch of the library. And so Burlingame Library and Rethink Waste, which are the folks who oversee our garbage hauling and processing, which is a huge job, are hosting a board game, puzzle, and book swap. So bring a previously enjoyed game or puzzle or book, and then you can leave with a new one. So that should be fun. That's 11 to 1 on this Saturday. And finally, we have community poetry open mic series with featured reader Heather Bourbeau. That's October 4th, Wednesday from 6 to 7 in the Lane Room. And that'll be an evening of poetry and part of our open mic series, which we're just launching, we're very excited about. And in this particular day, October 4th, our featured reader is Heather Bourbeau. So come share a poem or two and sit back and listen. There'll be book signings by her and some light refreshments. And if you'd like to read a poem, then you need to register. But if you just want to listen to great poetry and have fun, then you can just show up. So those are some of the upcoming events. Colleagues, are there any others? Yes, Mr. Stevenson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just on the Parks and Rec Foundation, they are putting on their annual Pickleball Palooza event on October 8th. You can sign up online or visit the community center. Residents have one fee, non-residents another fee. I'm not a big pickleball player, but I hear it's kind of popular now. So yeah, just want to add that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think cities across the country are like, what? Anything else? Do you know?
No, I don't have it.
No. Okay. So that's it for our upcoming events. That takes us to disclosure of 1439 conflicts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am just disclosing I am not aware of having any campaign contributions that conflict with something on the agenda. If anybody is aware of them, notify the city clerk. This is a new law out of Sacramento that requires any donations above $250 to create a conflict be disclosed. Thank you.
Thank you. So that then takes us to our presentations, and we only have one tonight, but it's an important one. It's a proclamation recognizing September 19th, tomorrow, as National Voter Registration Day. And I won't read the entire proclamation, but I will say that this is recognizing the importance of voting to our democracy, to our country, to fairness and equity, and to the right to complain. Because if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain. It is the fountainhead of our freedom is democracy and being able to hold elected officials like us to account. It is our source of power as citizens, and it is a tool of social transformation. I'm going to hand this over in a minute to our city clerk to introduce two of our young volunteers who've done amazing work to make sure that more people get registered to vote. But I'm going to use this as a minute, and I'd invite my colleagues to join me in celebrating our city clerk, who has been an amazing champion of fair elections in this city, who has served the county since July, served our city since July of 2015, I think. At least 4 elections by my count, maybe 5 big ones, and then lots of measures and other kinds of actions. And without fail, Megan, the reports back from our process is that they are clean, they're efficient. People enjoy it as much as you can ever enjoy waiting in line to do something with government. And most importantly, it's perceived as transparent and fair. And we really all owe you a thanks for running great elections for this city and the residents. And so I'd ask you guys to join me in standing up and giving her a round of applause. Okay, I didn't tell her I was going to do that. So Megan, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, elections are something I am passionate about. As you know, I had previously 2 interns that I started Generation Voter with. They are now off to college, registering students at their college to vote. And I was very fortunate to meet Lila and Shani. They are 2 new students, and I would like to really emphasize that they have only been working on this so far for maybe a month and a half. So they have hit the ground running, and they have put together a brief presentation about what Generation Voter has been working on. So
Great.
share my screen, and we have them sitting over there because our camera right there doesn't work. So it's also more comfortable for everyone, right? There you go.
Well, hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Lila Higgins.
And my name is Shani Royman. Today, we're here to present on our student-led organization through the city clerk's office, Generation Voter.
We're going to be breaking this presentation down into 3 parts: our mission and importance, what we've done so far, and where we're headed.
Our mission and importance is to create a youth engagement in the voting process and encourage involvement in local politics. Voter registration is our main driving force, especially with local elections approaching. Overall, this organization is designed to provide inspirational entry points for young motivated voters to engage in and learn about the election process, voting mechanics, and government advocacy. From our work with the elementary schools to our club at Burlingame High School, we want youth engagement in the local governing process. Specifically, we want the kids heading to college to be prepared to make their informed decisions, and we want to provide the resources to set them up for success.
As for our education initiatives begin with our I Voted sticker contest, an elementary through high school level contest in which local youth design the stickers that will be handed out at the polls. At the elementary schools, we want this to serve as an introduction to local governing systems. So in addition to the artistic element, we hope to create a video that explains the context of the contest and the importance of voting. Last year, we collected over 200 submissions, and this year we hope to surpass that.
What we've been up to, a focus on expansion, rebranding, and using Burlingame High School as a resource.
We founded the First Generation Voter Club as an extension of the organization through Burlingame High School. Not only will we use the club to educate our peers, but we want to offer a firsthand experience with local politics, whether that be outreach or social media for Generation Vote. We're eager to hear their perspectives and insights about the direction of Generation Voter.
Our goal for social media is to have someone be able to spend 5 minutes on our Instagram and understand how, why, and when they should be voting, as well as have a background to making an informed decision. Our social media should serve as an approachable but powerful resource for people of any age to fully understand the importance of voting, especially in local elections. The photo on the left is directly from our website and represents what motivates this organization, getting youth adults to vote.
Next slide. A new concept we're introducing is Meet Your Representative. where we'll be conducting short, personable interviews with department heads and local government officials where you can explain your story so that our viewers can understand who's representing them and continue making their informed decisions. On the right, you can see the pending template for Meet the Representative, which will in the future be published on our Instagram and website. Next slide, please.
Where we're headed, our new initiatives and goals. We're expanding south to San Mateo. Our extension in San Mateo will offer diverse perspectives and increase the amount of youth engagement in the peninsula. While the logistics are still currently in the works, Burlingame remains the leading force that will continue setting the pace for the projects.
Finally, we're working to acquire the Distinguished Service Award from the Superintendent. With San Mateo being one of the most progressive and active counties, somehow we've fallen behind Alameda, Santa Clara, and Contra Costa in this regard. The Distinguished Service Award acknowledges high schoolers' outstanding commitment and service to their community, and having this award would massively motivate our already driven high schoolers. Generation Voter hopes to be the catalyst for change that brings this award to Burlingame.
So I wanted to give a little bit more background on this. This is a state law that came out, I think, 2019, 2020. And it asks that superintendents, county and superintendents, start a program where students that are showing a commitment to their community and to local government will get a state seal on their diploma. So it's a way to start fostering youth involvement in your local community. We are one of the counties that are not doing this yet. So I'm going to have my students fill out the paperwork to give it to the superintendent so we can make sure that they and other students like them get this.
Thank you all for your time. Do you have any questions?
Are there questions from colleagues?
Yeah.
Madam Vice Mayor.
Great. So I have a question, which is when Burlingame High School students graduate and they go on to college, do you guys have any kind of recommendation about whether they should vote on their college campus or retain their voter status here? Have you thought about that?
That's a good question. I think it definitely, well, we haven't gone super in depth to this because right now our whole premise has been on outreach and expansion. I think that when we start establishing real bearings of what we want that system to look like for college kids specifically, we'll have a better answer. But I would say it's definitely dependent on that student's lifestyle of like, are they settled in Burlingame or are they planning on living where they go to college full time? So I think it definitely depends, but we'll come back to you with a better answer on that.
Well, first of all, just as a visual, yep, I voted and boom, I voted. Two of my favorites. So thank you guys for that. I just want to ask, is there, are we able to include all of our high schools here in Burlingame? Do we reach out to Mercy and Peninsula High and so forth?
So far, we've only announced the contents to Burlingame High School, and we're working to announce it in the intermediate school. But announcing it in other high schools is definitely something we could work on.
I would encourage it. You know, I mean, I'll defer to our city clerk, but everybody's a young person and it's absolutely clear. Data is very clear. If you vote when you're young, you tend to vote throughout your life.
Yeah,
So let's get everybody going.
for sure. It's definitely something we're working on.
Fantastic. Councilmember Beach.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. And we love how you're putting your own stamp of, your own twist on this great work that's already been done over the last couple of years, taking it to the next level. And that's how we build things. So congratulations and thank you. Mine is more of an idea to consider. I love how your vision is really to engage the youth, get them involved, be educated. There's another organization out there called the League of Women Voters. It's very important that runs candidate forums and does this work. And I was talking to some of them recently, how they're struggling to find volunteers to put on forums and to do the work that they do, which is nonpartisan, and it just really is about learning. And I just wonder if there's some kind of synergy between what you're doing here with youthful energy and volunteerism and their organization to help provide the people power and the infrastructure to help educate the electorate too, and maybe even bring them into the opportunity to get more online and to do more social media. Maybe there's an opportunity to partner and brainstorm with a great organization.
I think that's a really good connection to make. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I think that that's something that we can definitely intertwine into the clubs, into like the extension of the organization. Because while we don't have a specific direction yet, that is what we're looking for. It's like, it's how can you help other people with the
Right.
the platform that you've been given. So I think that is a really good connection to make. And we'll
It's an idea, and they tend to be a lot older volunteers
Yeah.
too, so there could be just some really nice synergy there. Anyway, thanks. Fantastic.
Thank you, Councilmember Beach. Councilmember Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's tremendous, and just as Mayor Brownrick said, the earlier you get involved, the longer you tend to stay in it. I am curious from your effort, and I recognize it's new for at least one of you, right, the last month or so. But what are some of the common challenges you see in that outreach to other campuses, and maybe even the words of the students and the younger generation of, why they don't get involved, or what do you hear? It would be great to know that so that we can target the education even more.
Yeah, I think in general, there's just a lack of information on what really has to be done. So I think a lot of people are interested in getting involved, but since there's a lot of people in charge and there's a lot of new policies that are in action, it's hard to stay. It's not hard, but it's just like more difficult than one would imagine to keep up with it all. And especially for local youth, that might not be something, like all of our new policies and laws, that might not be something they're taught in schools. So I think implementing it in the curriculum would definitely involve the youth more.
Okay.
I think adding on to what Shani is saying, there's also a certain intimidation factor with local government. I think that when you're looking on a national scale, it's so heavily televised. I mean, I could basically turn on any news channel right now and there'll be some sort of coverage about the debates. Whereas, I mean, I've asked some of my friends we started this a month ago. So I've asked some of my friends about like, have they considered voting? And the answer is always no. They don't know where to start. They don't know who to vote for. They don't know what's going on. So I think something that we're really aiming for, especially from social media, is just to make the whole process more digestible and less intimidating. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent answer. Thank you, ladies, for your work.
I would ask that we do a picture with the proclamation
Let's
because we're doing things with
that.
the gram these days.
let's do it.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah, Megan, get over here. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work. Thank you.
Oh, sure. I demoted myself. Madam City Clerk, thank you very much for helping arrange that. That's terrific. Thanks again for all your work.
Thank
I
you.
think I've stalled about as long as I can. I think we probably should do a roll call.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
No,
Councilmember Stevenson,
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz, Councilmember Beach,
Here.
Vice Mayor Coulson,
Here.
Mayor Brownrigg.
here. Okay, that takes us to our public comment. This is a time to share your comments on any issue in Burlingame that are not otherwise on the agenda. As many of you know, if it is a public comment, we are not allowed to make a reply in any kind of substantive way because it's not on the agenda and it wouldn't be fair to people who aren't here. So, but we welcome input and commentary, and I will open it up to public comment.
Good afternoon, sorry, good evening, council. My name is Dante Campagna, street and sewer lead worker for the city of Burlingame. Today, I stand before you to address a deeply concerning issue that is plaguing your workers. It is one that strikes at the very heart of fairness and equality and challenges the very values upon which our society is built. I am here to shed light on the inequitable treatment of our hardworking public works employees by this city council. Let me be clear. Public works employees are the backbone of this community. We labor tirelessly day in and day out, maintaining the roads and parks, repairing sewer and water infrastructure, and providing essential services that you often take for granted. We are the unsung heroes who work long hours in challenging conditions, often going unnoticed and underappreciated. Yet despite our dedication and the pivotal role we play in upholding this city's functionality, we are being denied the fair raises that we so rightfully deserve. This is a grave injustice that cannot be overlooked. What makes this situation particularly infuriating is the fact that the members of our city council, the very individuals responsible for making decisions about employee compensation, are wealthier individuals who do not understand the struggles faced by these hardworking public servants. It is disheartening to witness such a stark contrast between the financial situations of our public works employees who deserve to lead a decent life and the council members who hold the power to bring about change. This inequality sends a message that our hard work, dedication, and contributions are undervalued and underappreciated. Fair compensation is not a luxury. It is a basic right. It is about providing a living wage that reflects the efforts and the value we bring to this community. It is about cultivating an environment where your employees can thrive, ensuring their well-being and maintaining their motivation to serve this city to the best of their ability. Your duty as city council lies in ensuring the equitable treatment of all employees and ensuring that no one is left behind. It is time to allocate resources to provide fair wages to your public works employees, the very individuals who play an indispensable role in shaping our city's growth and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to join us at the podium? Please step up.
Good evening, council members. My name is John Manson. I've been with the Parks Department here 15 years. As a mechanic, I don't often get out in the parks, but when I do work my weekends, I'm always interacting with the residents and park users. I rarely hear of problems. Usually we just get compliments. A simple thank you is all we usually give. We don't take their time up or ours. They don't want to hear speeches. So this is time for one. There's a lot of years that go into preparation to get to where we are. Oftentimes a journeyman has to serve a 4-year apprenticeship to get to a control of their craft where they can actually move beyond the basics. Most of our guys that we've retained over the years are in that position, but the up and coming ones are not. That's always the challenge, to train new people and be still proficient in getting the parks in the shapes that people want to see them in. As inflation continues to go up, it is not going down. I cannot blame my coworkers. They've decided to look for greener pastures as far as compensation goes. Wages are to support us for living wages, because that seems all we have. We don't have raises. We're only been asking for to keep pace with inflation. Our last few contracts have not even given us that, let alone the last few years. We are not asking for a raise. We're asking to keep up with the best we can with what we have left after our paychecks have all cashed and the money spent on the necessities. As you all understand, it is very expensive to live in the Bay Area. And now as our employees and friends do have to look other places to live. They're now traveling long distances, which is not really the best thing for anybody. Showing up to work tired because you had to leave your house at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to get here for a 7 o'clock shift, and getting home at 7:30 at night is also not positive. But they do it because they understand that they can work a good job and earn a good wage. So if you consider our wages as part of us living, we definitely need to get some inflation caught up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, anybody else?
We also have some emails.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's go to the virtual commentary.
The first email comes from Robert. He says, "My name is Robert Alden and I'm a lead worker in the water department. I take a lot of pride in being a lead water distribution operator for the city and have been in this position for over 8 years. We operate one of the most important utilities within our city. We provide our citizens with safe drinking water, an essential resource. Not only do we provide citizens with drinking water, but the water they cook with, clean with, shower with, and irrigate with. Without our certified water distribution operations operators in our water department, the citizens of our city would not have the high quality customer service or emergency response that they receive from us. Our water distribution operators have to obtain state licenses issued by the California State Water Resource Control Board. Once these licenses are obtained, we need to maintain them with continued education. Our experience in the field does matter. We are the ones that are responding to emergencies and customer inquiries. We are the ones that ensure the city's water distribution system is running efficiently and that the water is of the highest quality. We cannot retain water distribution operators because we are not being valued as such or being paid what we are deserved. We cannot attract new talent because we're titled as maintenance workers, not as water distribution operators, what we actually are. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Our experience matters and we deserve to be recognized, compensated, and treated as valuable employees to the city." Our next email comes from Alexa. "As a Burlingame and Bay Area Peninsula resident for the last few decades, I've always had a love for our parks. Parks bring the community together and create a safe environment for our children and families to play, socialize, and enjoy the outdoors. They have become only more crucial after the COVID-19 pandemic so that families and friends could gather safely. Having lived all throughout the peninsula, Burlingame's parks stand out for its stunning landscape. I can always rely on my parks being clean, well taken care of, and a kind person to listen if there are any concerns. The Burlingame Parks Department are loyal and caring employees dedicated to making our communities safer. After the 2022-23 storms, we saw countless trees fall, creating extremely hazardous situations. I watched as the tree crew jumped into action to remove trees in our roadways or streets that had already fallen or were at risk of falling. They took the time and had the expertise when trees were falling near power lines. They kept our community safe, and their hard work and sacrifice allowed us to continue our daily routines. The extreme cost of living and inflation rate has made what we used to consider a livable wage obsolete. The men and women in our parks department deserve to live and thrive in the community they work so hard to preserve for the rest of us. They complete labor-intensive and skilled work that the average citizen could not. They deserve to be given an appropriate raise under inflation, and their compensation should allow them to comfortably live in our community. Thank you so much for your time." And the last email I have is from Jim. He says, "Good evening, City Council members and residents of the city. My name is James McIntyre, and I've been working for the Street and Sewer Division for just over 5 years. In this short amount of time, I'm already the 8th highest person on our seniority list, which is out of 22 people. Our day-to-day work has been increasing both in pace and in physical demand, and our pay is not reflecting that, which is why we are seeing such historic turnover rates today. We have had to let some employees go because the poor pool of candidates that apply due to our lower pay compared to every city in the peninsula. We have even had 9 temporary laborers who started with us in hopes of getting a full-time job. Once this offer was made for a full-time position, these 9 individuals turned down the job for another higher paying city. We are training these people only for them to find better pay somewhere else. My fear is that the impact of this won't be noticed until it is too late. Once we get few lower quality employees who won't work as hard as a better candidate would have if we were paid more to begin with. Once this happens, Burlingame will not be able to pride itself on this quality work that we do for the residents. There's time to salvage this, and it's right now, because if our pay does not reflect the amount of work we do, there will be more careless, complacent, and inexperienced person making direct contact with our residents when they need us. We are not asking for more money so we can buy nice things. We are simply asking for a fair wage so we can try to make ends meet and keep the public works quality community service slogan alive. And then I don't have any hands raised for the audience.
Well, thank you to those three comments. They were very thoughtful as well. Before I move on, I want to give everyone one last chance. You all have spent your evening with us so far, and thank you for that. We appreciate it. Is there anybody else who'd like to come to the podium? All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. We're going to move on. So that takes us on to the consent calendar. There are 5 items on the consent calendar. Maybe I'll just wait a minute. Okay, there are 5 items on the consent calendar. Would any colleague like to pull off one of the items for further discussion?
I have one.
Yes, Vice Mayor Coulson.
Pull off 10E, please. The
Yep,
response to the civil
bike safety. Mhm.
bike safety.
If there are no others, then I'd welcome a motion to approve items 10A through D.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Beach, seconded by Councilmember Stevenson. If we could do a roll call.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Beach,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coulson,
Yes.
Mayor Brownway.
Yes, and so the vote passes 4-0-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that takes us to the grand jury's commentary on bike safety in the county. Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. If we had a really packed calendar, I probably wouldn't have pulled this off, but I really, in reading through this, one thing I noticed, and I've been thinking about recently is electric bikes. I've been watching them come through downtown and I'm on a wide street. Tonight, I would say I saw 2 electric bikes going probably 35 to 40 miles an hour down my street, like at full bore. And people fortunately are wearing helmets, but they're definitely speeding. And I'm just wondering, as kind of a part of the whole bike safety conversation and work that we're going to do coming forward, do we need to think about addressing specifically the this rapid increase in e-bikes and the sort of proliferation? I know the chief they can ticket. I'm sure I don't know, can you ticket a bike that's going over the speed limit? Okay, so we can ticket a bike going over the speed limit. I'm almost wondering if the speed limit for e-bikes should even be lower than cars. You know, I don't know if you can set like a e-bikes in downtown and, you know, I don't know if we have prerogative to do that, but, you know, maybe setting it at 15 miles an hour or something, or 20, because I'm worried both about the bikers, but I'm also worried about on my street, the smaller children that are kind of running out or, you know, and it's like a 13-year-old on the bike. And I'm just not sure that they're going to be experienced enough to, you know, quickly avert sort of an accident. And then I've seen a couple really bad accidents. I don't know if they were all cars lately, but I've noticed more, it seems like there's been a few more accidents. I've seen a few more fire trucks and things going on. So I don't know what's going on. It seems like more. And I've had a number of residents also just ask me about the e-bikes and the speeding.
Good. Yeah, no, it's a good comment. Madam City Manager, do you have
I have a police chief sitting in the back who might have some thoughts about it.
let's bring him up.
Sorry, Mike, get you out of your cozy chair back there.
No problem. Thank you. So actually, Burlingame's not the only city, obviously, that's experiencing these issues with e-bikes. I met with the grand jury in regards to this report and probably for about an hour, and there were several questions, and most of this report was because of e-bikes. That was majority of the questions were dealt with e-bikes, and they were brainstorming what to do about e-bikes. So we're not the only people in this situation. the main gist of the grand jury report was e-bikes. And part of the issue is just that it's things are happening so fast. There's so many different types of e-bikes, so many different types of powers on e-bikes and stuff. So that's part of the reason why they're doing this report. But because of this report, we are actually working on the station at the police department with kind of coming up with a cheat sheet of all the different kind of laws that relate to scooters and bikes, because you see all different kinds and you can't tell. It's hard to enforce when it's just so confusing. And so we're working on a project where we're going to try to come up with a way to combat it and see what we can cite for, what we can't cite for, what's legal, what's not legal, and then go out and do some education and enforcement as part of what came out of this grand jury report. So,
Yeah.
And bicyclists, whether it's regular bikes or e-bikes, have to follow all the rules of the vehicle code, just like drivers do.
Stopping at stop. So those are some of the things I've noticed, like no stopping at stop signs, the excessive speeding, and just speeding when the situation is more dangerous and it probably should be. So it's nothing immediate, and I really appreciate the grand jury's report on it. But I was just curious if colleagues were hearing the same thing or seeing the same things. And
I'm hearing a lot of complaints about e-bikes in different forms, whether they're powered skateboards or scooters and that type of thing.
the motorized e-bike.
Motorized e-bike.
Yeah.
I always thought that bicyclists or any form of bicyclist had to wear a helmet, just like a motorcycle. Is that not true?
That's not true. 18 and older, you don't have to wear a helmet.
So an e-bike doesn't qualify as a motorized vehicle if they're under the current.
Right. It just depends on the e-bike. And that's part of the problem, is that there's so many different types that we're just still trying to grasp, how to educate our own officers.
Yeah.
Not only the public, but our own officers. If you ask a lot of officers, they won't know exactly, the differences between some of these bikes, because they're coming out so often, and you have hoverboards and all these other things, and so it's really tough to keep up with it.
Okay.
Councilmember Beach.
No, I appreciate the conversation. I'm really glad, Chief, that you're diving into this in the context of the grand jury, but also among your own team. So many of these vehicles out there are really mopeds. They look like bicycles, but they're so powered. And as I recall, Spin, our electric bikes have a speed limit. There's a cap, but a lot of the aftermarket, or a lot of the bikes you can buy in the private market, they say they can go up to 30, but really if you talk to bikes, they can go faster than that. They can be up to 40. And so they're really a mini moped. And unfortunately, a lot of people that are using the bikes or the scooters or the hover, whatever they are, they tend to be youth who maybe don't have driving experience, so they feel infallible. So I think it's a really important conversation that we're starting to tackle. And yes, all cyclists have to follow the rules of the road as well, the stop signs and everything else. Hopefully infrastructure can help to a degree, but also education is going to be really important. So I wonder if there's ways to partner with the school district with more bike rodeos, with more bike education, like in other communities where it becomes more part of the culture to have the safety education behind too. And there's lots of grants out there, right? For those programs. It used to just be all about infrastructure, but program funds at the TA and at CCAG. So maybe we can look into that too as we do our Vision Zero. We had our first meeting today as well. Thanks.
Oh, that's
We're actually hosting a bicycle and pedestrian safety class tomorrow, the police department, based on one of the recommendations from the grand jury. It's gonna be at the community center, and I'm not sure what time. I think 6 o'clock, but I can check that. But tomorrow for our first, and then we'll probably have them quarterly or a couple times a year.
That'd be great.
yes, please.
On a different subject, I do want to thank staff for preparing the letter. And I think one of the interesting things I learned at the county's bike pedestrian advisory committee is the way the sheriff's department is putting also a way for where it's their jurisdiction for cyclists to report when there's dangerous incidents like cars driving, not giving the proper distance between cyclists and cars, or reporting other incidents that maybe they got knocked off their bike, but they didn't think to call the police. And there's some online reporting tools that the sheriff's department's trying to implement that's really good to get some stats and to figure out where the hot spots are in communities or what's going on. And I appreciate that. It looks like Burlingham's going to be experimenting with that too in the next year.
That was one of the recommendations for the report, and we already actually implemented it. It's on,
Yeah.
I think we can do it already. We did it, I think, a month or two ago.
Yeah. And then it's promoting it that it exists out there because people won't use it if they don't know it's there. But thank you for all the support.
Yeah, I thank you for pulling this, Madam Vice Mayor. I appreciate also the slightly deeper dive. It felt to me a little bit like and meaning no offense to the grand jury, but a lot of it was sort of bureaucratic. Let's write more reports and let's, and I think I was left with feeling, we're going to have to look for our own a little bit and figure out works here that maybe goes above and beyond some of that. I have to say, I was on El Camino a couple of nights ago and somebody was on one of those one wheel things going about 35 or 40, just a single guy on that little tiny board. And I mean, it's terrifying for, no kidding. I mean, and if you're a motorist, I mean, it's terrifying. If he slips, I mean, it's horrible to think about. So, but it's all new stuff. So we have to figure it out. I will share that I have times considered, and this is not a proposal for a new agenda item yet. But in the same way that we meet annually between council and the planning commission, I have sometimes wondered if it would be useful to meet between the council and traffic and safety. There've been a lot of different traffic and safety issues that have come up, as we know. We're in the middle of a big redo, and it might be an interesting forum to try to arrange for our commissioners and us to think holistically about the city and new issues like this. But anyway, Chief, thank you very much for the work. And welcome.
Thanks, Chief, so much. I appreciate you coming up and all the hard work.
Any other comments or questions about the report? If not, I'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anybody in the public or online?
We have no emails and there's no one with their hand up.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that getting pulled. Would you like to make?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt adopt a resolution approving the city of Burlingham's response letter to the San Mateo County civil grand jury report around bike safety in San Mateo County.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Colson, seconded by Councilmember Stevenson. If we could have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yeah.
Councilmember Beach?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Colson?
Yes.
Mayor Brownrigg?
Yes, and so the motion passes 4-0-1. That takes us to our single public hearing of the night. And that is an adoption of the resolution approving the new downtown Burlingame Avenue Business Improvement District assessment for FY24. There we go.
I'm here.
Please, Director Scott.
Good evening, Mayor, Council member. On August 21st, 2023, the City Council adopted a resolution to declare the intention of set assessment for Burlingame downtown business improvement district for fiscal year 23-24. And also establish the public hearing date and night for tonight, 7 o'clock council meeting. The assessment is used to provide enhancing activities or public outreach for the business benefit for the business district. If there's a protest for the business constitute a majority of the assessed value, then we cannot approve a resolution. By 5 o'clock this afternoon, we'll check with city clerk. We only have 2 protests, which is not constitute the majority of the assessed value. I don't know if any additional
We are up to a total of 3.
3. So with that, we have 400 plus business. We send a notification, so which is only 3. It's not constitute majority. So staff recommend the council to approve the resolution and then approving the assessment as well. So that's conclude my staff report. I'm here to answer any question you may have.
Thank you very much. I think we can all agree that a revenue measure that 7% effectively in support is pretty good revenue measure. So, and we certainly appreciate how hard the DBID works to make our downtown beautiful. Any questions for the director? No. Thank you very much. I'll open it up for a public hearing. Is there anybody, obviously not in the audience right now, but online?
Yes, so we did receive some of the protests, which I'm going to treat like our regular protests and just acknowledge we had them. But we also received an email from Bob Trahan from 12 Month, and he says, My name is Bob Trahan, and I'm the owner of 12 Month located at 330 Lorton Ave. I've CC'd my Director of Operations, Steve, in this email. I wanted to provide a written comment that as a business owner, while I'm more than happy to pay my share of taxes, I'm fairly astounded by how these fees are all coming in piecemeal. And I feel fortunate to have budgeted for unforeseen bills like this one. It would seem that minimally, as part of the planned approval process, when a project begins, like my restaurant, a full schedule of fees should be presented to me. As is, things like this assessment are coming in one by one, making any sort of budgeting impossible. Generally, it would be best if there was simply a higher tax rate that we business owners could easily understand and account for in our business plans. Otherwise, it seems sort of a multi-year roadmap of expected fees should be presented to the business owner in the planning approval process so that they can budget appropriately.
Well, we appreciate that advice. We can try to work on that. Anything else?
Nope, that's the only one.
Okay. We appreciate that. That being said, then, I forget, is this a resolution, a motion to approve the resolution?
May I
Yes, please.
comment to that?
Yeah.
So, as a person who also owned a small business in this town, I can understand why, you get your business license fee, you get your bid assessment, you get everything. I would agree that if there were any way to, during at least the planning process, just make a one, like, these are the fees you can expect every year. I do think it would be very, very helpful. Many of the small businesses in our town are, and I'm not saying like give a dollar amount or anything like it's going to be this or that, but, or like this would be essentially your first year, or just some line item of what you can expect. It is hard. And, I know like when I was building my facility, I budgeted $195,000 by the time I was done with add-ons from the city, things that were not in the approval process, but were made, and changes that were made to my plan after everything had been approved. Now we want this, we want structural, we want engineering, we want blah, blah, blah. The additional add-ons took me from 195,000 to almost 500,000 in budget. I mean, most businesses would go bankrupt if you are 150% over budget on your tenant improvements. So I just want to be sensitive to businesses, and the fact that many of them, especially restaurants, are running, on a pretty tight margin or in negative. So as helpful as we can be, I think would be important.
Yes.
Yeah, just,
Or-
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just building off of Vice Mayor Colson's comment, I think it should be feasible that we have a schedule of fees that may or may not be applicable to a given project or a given business. And even if we don't know the dollar amount for a certain line item, maybe it's not up for approval yet, or it's still being worked on, that they at least know categorically what those likely fees are going to be around. And if we do have an estimate, there's nothing that's holding us to that estimate, I would assume, that would give that business owner a good visibility. So if something is like, based off revenue or based off a flat fee, you could clearly put that into a schedule.
What I might suggest, because obviously there's, I think we all recognize two different kinds of costs, capital expense and operating expense. And I took Mr. Trahan's comments to be more on the operating expense side.
They are, but I'm just saying that as a new business owner, so many new expenses come in that anywhere that we can help them understand what the ongoing maintenance would be great.
Well, and so to that point, I wonder if we could ask our economic development officer to assemble the different fees for the different neighborhoods, like DBID has its.
Do you think this is a future agenda item?
I'm not sure that it is, honestly. I don't mind if it is, but it's really just asking, let me ask our city manager to consider whether our staff might put together an.
I think we can take this back. The confusion on a part of a lot of people when the D bid and Broadway bid comes up is that this is just a pass-through fee. Like, the city doesn't get any of this money. It's not our fee.
Right.
We just happen to be doing this on their behalf. So Mr. Trahan's original email actually went to the D bid, and then he just forwarded it. His beef was with the D bid, not with us. That being said, we can look to see if there's a way to put together some materials. We actually had once upon a time a kind of a, you're a new business, what do you need to know packet?
Exactly.
And I know Joe Sanfilippo worked on that long ago. It's been a while since I've checked into that, so I'm not sure what that is. And maybe we'll just cut that conversation off there.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because we do have different neighborhoods and different cost structures and stuff. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So that closes public comment. And so now, unless there's more discussion of the measure, I'd welcome to do whatever it is we're supposed to do.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the resolution of approving and levying the 2023-24 assessments.
Thank you, Councilmember Beach,
I'll second it.
and a second by Vice Mayor Coulson. If we could have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Yes.
Councilmember Beach.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Coulson,
Yes.
Mayor Brownrigg.
Yes, and so the motion carries 401. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Scott. That takes us to staff reports and communications. Are there any communications or updates that colleagues would like to share? I see none. Oh, sorry, that was different. Now it's council committee and activities reports, but I don't think anything's changed in 20 seconds. So no comments. Future agenda items. I think I did mention one earlier. I think I will not ask whether there is support for that, but I will talk privately with the city manager to see what she thinks. And if she thinks it has merit, then I'll come back and see if colleagues agree. Because it's her staff that have to put those kind of meetings together. So any other future agenda items? I see none. Acknowledgements, there's various minutes and so forth in our packet. Tonight, I don't have anyone I know of to adjourn in memory of,
I do.
so I'd welcome anybody else.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, please. So I'm going to turn it over to you to bring us home on this one.
So, I found out this past week that Kathy Everson passed away from ALS.
Mm.
And some of you may have known her. She actually was, we went to UC Berkeley together. I think she was a Roosevelt mom. I knew her, reacquainted with her after Cal, after we got to Burlingame, when her kids began playing youth sports, and I had the opportunity to reacquaint. And having known her now for what would be like 40 years almost, she was such a positive and vibrant person who just always made everything that the kids were doing and everything going on in the community around her fun. She was always smiling, looked at the bright side of everything. I'm sure, she will be greatly missed by her family, and I know the Roosevelt plus just the regular community here. And she was young. I mean, obviously she's the same age as me. So it's always heartbreaking when a beautiful, contributing, positive person in our community leaves behind children and a husband and family. So I just wanted to acknowledge her and the family today when we close our meeting.
Thank you very much for that. Those very nice remarks. And the community is sadder and worse off for her loss. And we obviously sympathize with the family. Please join me in a minute of silence. All right. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. Thanks for that, Tom.
Yeah, no.